Teaching number 208. You have awakened to the echo of my word, and you have come from distant nations, peoples and regions, on a long road of vicissitudes, with the desire to find the Master, and you have achieved the purpose of your struggles and sacrifices, because you have come into my presence. It is the first step you take on the path that will lead you to the top of the mountain where I am waiting for you. You have opened your heart like an empty book, so that I can write this teaching in it. Some have presented their understanding to me, in which I have also written my word, waiting for the heart to become sensitive, because this light will penetrate to the spirit, where it will find a dwelling place from which it will never leave. Never has my word been so clear and extensive, as in this third era, in which I have made it more humanely comprehensible. My word helps you to understand what I gave you in the past 2 eras. My entire doctrine is enclosed in 2 precepts that I bequeath to you from the beginning. You shall love God with all your heart and spirit, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Later Jesus came to tell you, love one another, and now I come to continue my teachings, to finish my work upon you, in fulfillment of my promise to return. I did not appear at this time in the bosom of any church, because I came in search of my temple that exists in your heart. The solemnity of the liturgies, the splendor of the religious rites are not what attract my spirit, nor do they represent what is my church. In the second era, the princes and the priests awaited the birth of the Messiah in the bosom of the church. However, I was not born among them, because I found the stable in Bethlehem cleaner. I found more love among the shepherds and more mercy in the harsh winter. This is why the theologians of that time were mistaken, and why the kings persecuted me from my birth to my death. Today theologians are once again confused before my new coming, because the prophecies and announcements of it have not been correctly interpreted. My coming has been doubted from the beginning, even though I have given you proofs that bear witness of me, and in this way I have built faith in the hearts of my people. Great multitudes of disciples have emerged in this time, but being so great, they do not possess the faith and strength that those 12 who followed me had in the second era. And what are you going to do after my departure? You all know that I am speaking to you, within the last 3 years of the teaching that you will receive through human understanding. If you truly understood me, you would have the certainty that I am with you eternally, that I speak to you eternally. But who are those who are preparing to feel my divine presence and to hear my voice? Who will reach, by 1950, the time set for my departure, sufficient spirituality to communicate with the Master without the need for the spokesperson? I will not feel offended if you do not offer me altars or flowers, or if you do not light lamps for me, because what I have searched all the time in the heart of man is the spiritual altar. Flowers are the offerings of the orchards and valleys, whose fragrance and perfume reach me as a tribute of love. Do not then usurp the valleys and the orchards with their offerings. Do not light any lamps other than that of faith in my divinity, because lighting oil lamps will do you no good if your heart is in darkness. You have not managed to understand, and even less to practice, the perfect doctrine that I have revealed to you, and whose name of Marian Trinitarian spiritualism says it all: spiritual elevation, recognition of the Trinity and the divine manifestations and adoration of Mary, the divine tenderness. Before the beginning of the year of 1948, I told you through numerous spokespersons, prepare yourselves, because I will reform your spiritual practices, because I do not want the world to judge you as the bad disciples, who have invited the Master to participate in their superfluous customs. I have entrusted you with my perfect work, which you must not deny with your actions. Everyone who rises to follow me will carry his cross and deliver the truth with all his being, as far as his powers will possibly allow it. You are not always prepared, but I wish you were, because at the least expected moment the tests or the needy may present themselves, and you must respond in an instant. For parents, the weight of the cross is serious, because having brought the new generations into the world, they have understood that this is not enough for them to consider their mission finished. The law of the Father for the first was this: grow and multiply, and in the present time, in which I find great evolution in the human spirit, I say to you again, grow and multiply, but do not only do it in matter but also in spirit, in virtues, in love. This is the law of the beginning and the end that you will fulfill, so that you can arrive satisfied before my presence and you can tell me, Lord, here is my spiritual and human fulfillment, here is my fruit. Beloved people, the times do not allow you to stand still. The forces of nature, the pain, the war, the conflicts and the chaos, tell you every moment, wake up and work, let your heart be filled with this wine, which is the blood of the Master, so that it overflows in life and in love over your brothers. See that my word comes from a Father who seeks you, who loves you and corrects you, who lifts you up when you stumble and heals you when you are sick. I have not even come this day to command you, simply to caress you. I am going to point out all your acts in front of your conscience, not some in front of others, because I am the veil that defends you from your enemies, so that you listen in silence to the voice of the inner judge and remember that the disciples of Jesus must glorify with their works the name of their Master. I frequently speak to you about my departure, as I did with my apostles in the second era. Jesus found himself surrounded by his disciples, all of whom were older than the Master, while some were in the maturity of life, others were already in old age. There was only one younger than Jesus, that was John. The Master used to talk to them about his approaching farewell, and in view of that announcement, those men wondered, how does he talk about his imminent departure if we are closer to the end of life than he? And it was that the disciples could not understand how that man, all life, all love and strength, could die for the world. They could not conceive that the one who came from the Father could stop living. But Jesus kept talking about his departure, he kept saying goodbye, causing those hearts become familiar of the idea of separation and understand that they should take advantage of the time and store that precious seed in their hearts. Then someone said to his Master, Lord, if someone tries to hurt you, we will prevent it, to which Jesus replied, what is written must be done and the will of the Father shall be consummated, because the heavens and the earth would sooner disappear than his word not be fulfilled. And the disciples, downcast and sad, listened and inwardly wondered, what would they do when he was no longer among them? How could they fight alone among humanity? How could they give light to the blind, cleanse the leper, raise the dead, and convert the sinner? The Master read their thoughts and on one occasion told them, you will remain in my place, like sheep among wolves, but if you believe in me and remain on the path you will not perish. My passion was consummated, my word was fulfilled, and my apostles felt their courage and faith waver when they saw Jesus sweat blood in the Garden of Olives, as if he were afraid of men. They thought that the Master, who held power in his hand, before the shouting of the crowds, could silence them, since he had silenced even the possessed. And when the impious hands fell upon the rabbi to apprehend him, the astonished disciples questioned, Lord, why have you allowed yourself to be apprehended like any criminal, if there is no sin in you? So they hid, abandoning their Lord. But Christ continued to teach as God and as a man, because he wanted to be a man to give the perfect example and to feel human pain, and in him was all the anguish and abandonment. He received upon his body all the ingratitude and blasphemies. Then came the final hour. From the height of the wooden cross, his eyes searched the crowd for his friends, the disciples, those who had lived with him and who loved him and followed him on the roads, but they were not there. At the last moment, his bodily eyes did not see them. Only John, the youngest, was present accompanying the Master's mother. He delivered his last message to the disciple, and he consecrated Mary at that moment, before humanity, as the universal mother. Everything was consummated. The disciples, united by tears and mourning, sought comfort in Mary. But the Master, already as Spirit, made himself visible. He visited the mother and the holy women who bore witness to the apostles about which they doubted. But Christ, wanting to show them that he was still among them, also sought them out to reveal himself. On one occasion, the apostles were in a house when Thomas was not among them. While those men were given over to recollection, the Master penetrated through the walls of the chamber, saying to them, My peace be with you. The astonishment of the disciples was indescribable, as they recognized the accent of that voice, unique to them. The silhouette of Jesus disappeared, and the apostles, full of strength and joy, communicated the news to Thomas, but he mocked his brothers, and while he denied the testimony, finding the door of the room closed, Jesus again appeared greeting them thus, Peace be with you. Thomas, before the prodigy, first fearful and repentant later, contemplated the silhouette of Jesus, but the doubt tormented him. Then the Master told him, Come closer. Thomas, plunge your fingers into the wound in my side, and the unbelieving and materialized disciple sank them and was able to contemplate through that wound, the promised land. Thomas, then, fell at the feet of his master and overcome with pain and repentance confessed, Lord, Lord, it is you. Yes, Thomas, you confess that it is I, because you have seen. Blessed are those who have not seen, and yet believe. People, all that you are seeing now. I am announcing to you every moment my departure. I am dematerializing you so that later you will not be the unbelievers, the ignorant or the confused. On the last day of my stay among you, I do not want to contemplate you ruffling your hair, I do not want your mouths to exclaim, why are you leaving, Master? I want, in the final moment, to see you wrapped in a cloak of spirituality, equanimity and meditation, full of confidence that I have not gone away, that I am closer to you. I have told you that every sinful and non-sinful eye will behold me, some will spiritually see the silhouette of Jesus, others will feel my presence in their hearts, others will perceive my light in their understanding and others will see wonders on their path. I will manifest myself in prayer and in trials. But it will not be necessary that you contemplate the human form of Jesus but that you feel me in the spirit and in the heart. And there will be no mourning, there will be no emptiness, no loneliness, there will be no heartache or sobs. I want you to unify yourselves for my farewell, so that you combine all your spiritual forces and with them you can supplement what the Master has given you with his word. When the true unification is made between you, there will be signs in heaven and on earth and the nations will recognize it. This is my lecture, this has been my word of love and teaching, a continuous caress. You must prepare yourselves even more as the time draws near when I will no longer speak to you through human understanding. You will seek to nourish yourselves with the spiritual strength that my word imparts. Materialism is in its fullness, until now the world has lived without feeling me or listening to me. There are very few who live with spirituality, who contemplate my light and progress on their path, but how many are in darkness? There are those who are waiting for my new coming, in them there is the belief that Christ will become man again. Disciples who have listened to me, before your eyes the mission that you are to carry out is clearly shown, to announce to men the good news of my coming at this time and to communicate my revelations and teachings to them. You are the witnesses who know that I have returned among you in the same form in which I was seen for the last time in the second era, as Spirit. But before you come to communicate from spirit to spirit with your Lord, I wanted to communicate through the understanding of the humble man, but graced by me, so that this communication could serve as a basis or preparation for your future elevation. Human science with its development is proof that the spirit has evolved, and although the path is different, in each era it has been leaving traces of its advancement. The day will come when the sciences themselves will collaborate in the progress of the spirit, because everything is destined for that purpose. I tell you that the true man of science is the one who, out of love for his fellow men, searches the depths of creation for its secrets, until he finds the divine light. Whoever works like this will never be proud of his work, he will only consider himself an instrument of the Creator, and therefore, will never deny the existence of divinity. There will also come a time when the religious confined in their cells will come out of them, convinced of the uselessness of their retirement and of their mysticism. They will fight among humanity, to fulfill the purpose for which they were created. In a word, they will put an end to spiritual lethargy, to embark on the path of progress. The seed of spirituality is the seed of the third era, which I have been sowing among you. It will give humanity the secret to achieve a better life. See how due to the lack of spirituality, humanity is ignorant and divided. It has been creating different paths that have separated one from the other. You are witnesses of that lack of understanding. Again I tell you that the war between men has not ended, because the war of ideas, of creeds and religions, of philosophies and doctrines will come, each one wanting to be the only possessor of the truth, each one seeking superiority over the others. My sacrifice of the second era has not yet been understood by this humanity. Although the majority claim to recognize Christ, they have not recognized themselves in me. Why look for me on diverging paths, when I only walk the path of meekness, charity and justice? To reach me, it is essential to love your brothers. Today you still need ministers, judges and teachers, but when your spiritual and moral conditions have risen, you will no longer need those crutches, nor those voices. In each man there will be a judge, a guide, a teacher and an altar. I want to contemplate a people without rights, regulations, or dogmas, that know how to conduct themselves on the right path living by my doctrine of love. This freedom I give you at this time, because you will no longer be subject to certain forms of worship. This is not a new course, but a part of the same path that I had traced for you, but that you did not know. Study, penetrate my words, and you will recognize that the truth is contained in them. I am love, and as love I give myself to you without imposing any conditions. In the moments that you are living you need this encouragement, this love that is above all human affection. To achieve that elevation that puts you in communication with my divinity, you no longer need to stimulate your senses through the harmony of some musical notes, nor exalt yourselves by rituals or material objects, because your spirit is only moved by what is deeply spiritual. Whenever you open your heart to raise your spirit towards me, you experience that sensation of peace that descends from infinity. How is it possible that there is someone who does nothing for their spiritual progress? How can there be human beings who descend lower than inferior or irrational beings? The irrational being does not sin, because he only limits himself to following his own laws. On the other hand, man does sin because he carries within himself a spirit of light, a conscience and a gift of intuition. Among those called to fight in this work, there are also those who for moments forget the path they must follow. They forget the spiritual sign with which the Lord has pointed out to them, so that on their path, they only leave traces of peace and blessing. How can you descend from the ladder on which I have placed you? This is why I continually descend to speak to you, so that my word, like a fine chisel, polishes the rough edges of your heart. To make you understand that you cannot achieve communion with God if you do not distance yourself from the impure. Then, when you succeed in putting your thoughts above all that is superfluous and you look for me in infinity, you will feel a strange sensation of glory. That is how you will recognize that if you seek me in this way, the Father's charity will not take long to manifest itself in your spirit. Certainly at that time you are not in the material world, although your body is on earth. The spirit has risen away from all material contact, to enter a different life and space. That is where the love of the Father is felt, where the peace and blessedness of his kingdom is sensed. To awaken that longing in the reluctant, I become the foolish pilgrim, until I make them feel goodness within their hearts, that feeling that will encourage them to perform works that will bring them closer to me. When they have taken that step, they have contemplated the immensity of the field that is extended before their eyes, inviting them to work and fight. How much happiness they feel in their hearts, when they understand everything that seeing they did not see and hearing they did not listen, because everything was confused, and they did not realize that they were called to carry out a noble and delicate mission. I tell you all, when you come to identify with the Master, you will come to feel the misery of others as your own and try to do with your brothers what you saw that I did with you. If for a moment you come to consider yourselves unworthy or clumsy, it will be enough for you to feel charity for your brother and seek me, so that I will do what you cannot do. It is important to get started, even though the task seems impossible at that time, then the miracle will come and your faith will be ignited. Then the hungry, the lepers, the ragged and the lost will begin to arrive at your door. The needful in all its forms. But you must watch and pray, because temptation and seductions will lie in wait for you, offering you the world in exchange for your spirituality. There will also be those who try to confuse you with seemingly grand words and ideas. Pleasures will tempt your matter, trying to weaken your spirit. You will have to face everything, sometimes alone, other times with your brothers. Your weapons will be preparation, faith, your purpose, and the knowledge that you are acquiring from the Master. Thus, from being the vanquished of life, you will have become strong soldiers. You will have entered prepared, at the time of struggle that you are living. Your spirit will not be frightened, because it will feel that it needs this fight to purify itself and elevate itself. Truly I tell you that everyone who can present his finished work to me, it will be taken as your final work within the matter. Then, while your body is turning to dust and your spirit, already stripped of its last human clothing, has begun its spiritual work, it will contemplate the ladder where it will ascend, stage by stage, the 7 steps, until it reaches the bosom of the Father, which is power, grace and light. See how, having descended to so much imperfection, traveling the paths of the world in different bodies, knowing the mire and impurity, you were worthy of my charity, but all that long journey was the experience that your spirit gathered, in order to appraise the value that my laws contain and the value that the spiritual has, to understand that in the evolution of the spirit there is greatness and perfect satisfaction. That is why I always invite men to this path, because as long as they do not reach it, suffering will continue to touch them and false pleasures will continue to plague them. What I am teaching you is for the benefit of everyone who embraces my doctrine, so that their actions make them the teachers of tomorrow, of those who share my strength and my light that will overcome the depravity of the world. Evil in these times has opened before men as abysses of despair. Many works exist among men, apparently great and good, that is why I tell you, watch, so that you can combat all deceit, recognizing that in you, you carry an incomparable and true greatness. What higher grandeur is there than goodness shared and practiced? What greater magnificence is there than the love that you bestow on others, whose light and influence can contribute so that they too follow the path of perfection? What greater enjoyment for your spirit, than being able to overcome the weaknesses of your matter to rise from the level in which you find yourself? From the second era I spoke to you about the spiritual life, and your spirit understood part of what I said and of the end to which it is destined. Now that you are surrounding me again, I reveal to you and clarify all that was confusing to your mind. And I tell you again, whoever wants to follow me, take up his cross and follow me, that my cross will not be one of death, but of love and self-sacrifice, of renunciation of the superfluous for the benefit of the Spirit. Disciples, allow my doctrine to permeate the children of today. Everyone who has understood my word must educate their children with high ideals and banish all evil from their hearts. Sow in them the seed of goodness that is spirituality, and thus, when the children have sufficient capacity to understand the strength of my doctrine, they will not waver on its path, rather, their steps will be firm and no one will be able to deceive them. Like a radiant sun of life, light and warmth, I have shined upon everyone, but everyone will achieve what they desire according to their preparation and evolution. My peace be with you.